friends, welcome back to Crusty Cranks. Alright, today we're going to make some jigs. We're going to make, this is going to be our first jig video, and I thought I'd start off with something cool. So we're going to be making some chatterbaits, aka crusty vibrators. We got to call them something else because chatterbaits are patented, and you can't use the word chatterbaits when you sell your baits. So these are crusty vibrators, or a vibrating jig is what we're going to call them. Sometimes they're called bladed jigs. But anyway, we're going to do the fire crawl pattern, just like our last lure we did was a fire crawl. So we're going to do a fire crawl, and we're going to the next video is we're going to make some trailers to go along with it. So okay, so the jig I'm going to use today is the banana jig from Barlows Tackle. Got this from Barlows. They sell a bunch of molds on there. I've got a bunch of them that I've been purchasing to do different jigs and make some crappie jigs and different kinds of jigs. So I thought we'd start off with one of the most popular baits out there that catches a lot of fish. I paid, I think $15 to $17 for a couple of these and ended up losing them, getting them hung. So now I'm going to make my own. So if I lose one, I can make another one. No big deal. So yeah, we're going to use the banana jig. Now there's a couple jigs, molds you can use for making chatterbaits, and we'll use the Sparky. There's a Sparky jig, which I like, and then the banana jig, and then the Arky jig. So I haven't made any of these banana jig chatterbaits or vibrating bladed jigs, or whatever you want to call them. Sometimes I'll screw up and call them chatterbaits, but you get the idea. So yeah, we're going to use the banana jig, and I'm going to take you through the steps. We're going to make it all the way complete to a finished product. And I think we're going to make a couple of them. So we're going to do this mold has a 1/2 ounce, 3/8, 1/4 ounce, and a 1/8 ounce. And I've got some little blades too, so I might make a couple 1/4 ounce and 1/8 ounce with the smaller blades. If I do, I'll show you those at the end. But we're just going to make a 1/2 ounce and a 3 ounce, or 3/8 ounce. I'm sorry. We're going to make those. Now this jig isn't specifically for bladed jigs, but it works. So I'm going to show you how to do that. All right. I know there's some other videos out there, but I always like to do my own, show you my work. So, all right. So we got our new pot over here. In the past, building lures, I've used, and making jigs, actually, when I first started making some jigs, I used my neighbor's melting pot, because during COVID and back when all the crazy stuff was going on, you couldn't buy a lead pot. There wasn't a lead pot to be found. So luckily my neighbor had one. He said, hey, I'll loan it to you. You can use it until you get your own. And it was an older one, but it worked. So finally got availability, and a few months back I bought a new lead pot. So I'll show you that when we pour the lead. But it's a Lee. Now there's two different ways you can pour these. You can get, let me see. You can get this set up, which is the pourable pot, and then you can have a little ladle to pour in there. That works too, or you can just pour from here, which I was doing. I was able to get one of these, and I used it for a while, but I really wanted a lead pot. Just makes it easier for building baits and stuff to have a good lead pot. So we won't be using the little one. We're going to use the lead pot. All right, so I got that heating up. It should be ready here shortly, a few minutes. This is the hooks and components you're going to want to use. Now there's a few different hooks you can use. And I'll put links in the description where you can get these from Barlows. And I am an affiliate now with Barlows. They invited me to be a part of their affiliate program, which I thought was pretty cool. And so we're now affiliate. And if you're a first-time buyer from Barlows, and you use my link, and you get to throw a few pennies towards the channel. Helps me buy materials and stuff for the baits that I make and stuff. And I really like Barlows. They're just awesome, especially as far as shipping goes, man. I can order my stuff in like 2 days. It's in my mailbox. They ship it usually the same day if I order it in the morning, and the next day it's on the road, and the day after that it's at my house in the mailbox. So I really, really like Barlow's shipping times, man. They're just awesome. They're just on the ball, and that's why I like them. But okay, so the hooks I'm using are VMC's, V-Locks, I believe. They are, like I said, I'll look and put all that stuff in the description for you. It's been a while since I ordered these, so I'm not really positive. I didn't check all that, but links will be in the description so you can find all these. And these are straight shank. They're for making spinnerbaits and different kinds of molds. And you can notice that the head is a straight shank, whereas this jig is made up for... Let me find a hook. This jig is made up for these type of hooks. So you just lay them in there, and they got the right angle on them and everything. And then you just close it and pour. But for making the chatterbaits, you need this little component right here. And this is a WEY 525, I believe. Again, I'll put all these links in the description so you can find them. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and I'm only going to do one at a time just because I don't want to take a chance of messing one up. So you're going to take your hook, and we'll do the 3/8 one first. And I'm using a 4/0. 3/0. This one's a 3/0 hook, and you're going to take this little component right here, and if you notice, it's got a little notch in it, and we're going to put that little leg of that thing right inside that hole, and we're going to turn it so that that fits right down in there like so. Now the key to remember here is your hook direction, okay? Because of this lure, at the weight of it right here, is going to sink down, and you want your hooks up. So that's the way these baits are built. And then you want to remember which way you put your little component in. If you do it exactly this way, you'll always know that your little bend is at the top, your little opening. So that's where you're going to insert your blade on your jig after it's done. So we got that in there like that. I'm going to try to tilt it a little bit so you can see it. Okay, so it's just sitting in that little hook slot. And then the WEY 525 clip is in there facing up. Oop, that's where I didn't want to tilt it, but that's okay. We'll do it one more time. All right, so here, take your little component, stick it in that little hole, your hook, and put it up on there. Now probably the hardest thing is making sure you get your jig mold closed, and that you leave a little bit of space so your lead can get down in there. So you want to make sure it's down in that little slot real good. And sometimes you'll get a little flashing if you don't get it all the way down in there, right? And they don't fit perfect. But, you can clean it up a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. All right, so we got that in there like so. And you want to make sure that it's not sticking up to where it's going to stick out of the bait either. This is the trickiest part probably. It's just getting this thing lined up right. Okay, so that's how I kind of want it right there. Let me bring the camera over top of it so you can see it. So you want it just like that. Plenty of room for the lead to get in there. And then everything's in position. All right, so we're going to close this up. Set this guy back down, set the camera back down. We're going to close it up nice and easy. Just so we don't knock everything out of place. And you want to get it so it closes nice and tight. All right, so when you look at it, you should have, see it clicked right there? You should have that completely closed right here. Now, what I like to do, because I like to heat my jigs up, is I take this little clamp that I got from Harbor Freight and tighten it up on there. All right, and then we're going to set it on the mold, on the lead pot. Get it nice and hot. Let's see. Get the camera adjusted so you can see it. There we go. Okay, so you want to let it get good and hot. You want your mold to be hot when you pour this lead in there, because it'll just fill the mold better if the mold's nice and hot, and you won't get a less chance you're going to get a bunch of defected jigs. All right, so I'm going to pause it for a minute and let that mold heat up, and I'll bring you back when I get ready to pour. Okay, I think we're hot enough. We're going to take this. Now, you probably want to use gloves, just because this thing is really hot. Bring this dude down. Get it to where you can get underneath of it. And the one thing I've learned is to hold this thing as close as you can and not drip a drop of lead in there like I just did. All right, hold this thing up close. Lift your handle. Fill it up. And fill it up till you get to the top just a little bit. And then we're going to pull it open. Move my camera back over. Sorry for moving the camera around so much. I only got one camera and I'm trying to adjust it so you get to see every little step. Okay, take off my clamp, open it up, let's see how we did. Perfect. Now, some guys like to smoke their molds with a candle. That makes them easier to release, but I found out if they're hot, it's not a big problem to get them off of there. Take your pliers while it's still warm, give it a little wiggle, and that sprue will come right off of there. And the nice thing about working with lead is there's really no waste, because I can drop this right back in my pot and use it again. All right, now you can see I got a little flashing on there. It's covered in lead a little bit, but I'll take you through cleaning that up. It's not very hard at all. And sometimes it works better when it cools anyway. So let's make another one. That was the 3/8 ounce. All right, let's make a little 1/4 ounce. Now these are a little more of a challenge, getting them in there. But I always like to use these little tweezers. Helps me kind of line it up. And it's hot, so be careful. You want to make sure everything's seated best you can so you don't get a bunch of flashing. So it takes a minute to get these little guys in there. And I'm using a different hook. I'm using these Eagle Claw straight shanks, because the hook's big enough for crappie and smaller bass, I guess. At least you're seeing it in real time. There we go. All right, make sure I pour it in the third slot over. Get you over here by the lead. I'm going this one right here. Okay, let's see how our 1/4 ounce turned out. Nice. And with these lighter hooks, you got to be a little more careful with the sprue, because you don't want to bend your hook. These hooks are a little thinner gauge, but just keep wiggling it. There we go. That's gonna make a nice little crusty vibrator. All right, let's get these over. I'm gonna make some more, and so we got some more to paint, and let's get I'll catch you guys over when we go to clean them up. Okay guys, I thought I would show you how I clean these up, get them ready for powder coating. All right, so these are already done over here. Here's the Sparky. Here's the banana jig. And you can see I opened them up just a little bit. Try to get that so you can see it. Okay, and so I thought I'd show you how I cleaned them up a little bit, because sometimes you get a little bit of flashing around these little clips because they don't seat perfectly down in there. Some of them a little more than others. This is our little jig that barely fit in there, so got a little bit of flashing on that. But I thought I'd show you the tools. One thing I got this little battery operated Dremel 7300. I use that for a lot of the cleanup. I got a carbide tip bit in there, and that works really good for cleaning up the sprues. See, there's not much there. There's just a little bit of a rough spot. So really all you have to do is take your little carbide tip bit and pretty much just touch them a little bit. You don't want to hold too hard, because they start heating up and then they'll put a dent in it. And it can really grind it away. Down here, if you got a little flashing, just run that on there once or twice, and the lead's pretty soft. So you know it's lead, so be careful. You know the warnings about lead. You don't want to be breathing or getting it in your eyes or anything like that. So watch about breathing the dust. You guys know all the lead warnings, I'm sure. Another little tool I like to use sometimes is this little file. It just actually came with my wood burning set. It's just a little round file, and it fits in there pretty good, really. And then, like, if you got some flashing, you can stick that guy in there, and it kind of breaks it loose a little bit. And then if you take your pliers, needle nose or whatever, it just pretty much peels back. And then like up here at the top, you're going to have to open that up just a little bit. Let's see if I can get it to where you can see it. And just bend it back a little bit. You don't need much. You just need enough for that blade to slip down in there. And then usually when you do that, that kind of loosens up that lead around there too, if you got some flashing on there. But you don't want to bend this too much, and you don't want to keep bending it back and forth. Just bend it out enough where you can get your blade in there. All right. And then another little tool I like to use is this little, I mean, I usually could put this in the same Dremel, but I just put it in this one. Just put it in this one so I didn't have to switch bits and show you. But this little round guy right here, just a smaller little carbide, and it goes right through there and cleans that out. And then you can just kind of run it just a little bit, will loosen that flashing up, and you can get it right out of there. So that's pretty much it to cleaning them up. There's not a lot if you break your sprue off like I showed you while it's still warm. You definitely want to get this all cleaned out of here, because you don't want your blade to get hung up. So you want to make sure you get all that little flashing out of there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. 2 tools. I mean, whatever you got handy and available. Maybe a little round file. Definitely some needle nose pliers to bend that back. And then, you know, one of these little carbide bits sets. I've got a bunch of different sizes of these. I like this one because I can just kind of round up, get that sprue edge off of there. Like right here, where it's right here where it's kind of rough and ragged, and just take that and just kind of give it a little push. It's gone. And then, yeah, if you don't have a Dremel, don't have the bits, you can always use a little file. I've got a flat file that comes with this same set. I can use it too. So yeah, that's pretty much it for cleaning them out and getting them ready for painting. So I will bring you back and we'll get on to the station and we'll put some colors on these guys. Some colors and some eyes. All right, so let me finish these up and I'll bring you guys right back. Okay, let's get some paint on these guys. I got some Blaze Orange. This is Protect powder paint. Blaze Orange. All right, I got about half my jar in there. We're gonna do a couple colors. I don't want to do all these in the same color. All right, so got my, see if I can tilt it a little bit so you can see it. I want to dump it out. Got my fluid beds working real good. If you haven't seen the video on how to make these, I got a video on how to make them, and works really good, really awesome. All right, so we're gonna take our first little head here. Now, one thing that helps is to, from my scissors, is take some of this heat shrink tube, okay, and cut you off some pieces. I'm gonna go ahead and pre-cut some off here, so I got them ready to go. And this is the 1/16 size, I believe. Hold on 1 second, I will check. Yeah, it's the smallest packs. 1/16, I think it is. Then we're going to take and put some of these on the tips just to keep the paint off the hook, the line tie, the blade holder. Alright, so you just cut you a little piece of that and stick it on, just covering it up, just like so. All right, this is the I think this is the 3/8 ounce. So let's turn our heat on. Dip it down in, get a nice little coating on it, not too much, tap off the excess, bring it back over the heat. That's all there is to it. Bring this one up. Half ounce. Got my heat gun on a high setting. On my pad here, maybe it won't walk as much. There we go. Okay, let's do a couple of these. The Sparky heads. Go with some candy red. I always like to make sure my little air valve's closed here before I put the hose on. That way it ain't blowing out the top when I wasn't ready for it. And then I just kind of ease my air on until I get my powder moving a little bit. Sometimes I'll take a little one of these paintbrush handles, just loosen it up a little bit before I start pumping the air to it. And once I see that air volcanoing a little bit, I'll turn it back and then just get it moving a little bit, just get it flowing. So you can see how loose it is in there. It's just floating. Okay, get our heat back on. And let's do a few candy reds. Heat shrink tube. This is the 5/8 ounce Sparky. Alright, let's do one more color. One more red. And this one is called Disco Red. It's got a little bit more of a glitter to it. Make sure my valve's closed. Again, I put about a half a jar in there. Whoa, got a little crazy. I put about a half a jar in there just because I like it deep enough that I can do spinnerbaits. Because spinnerbaits have a longer hook, sticks out. And I don't want to fill it to where it flows over. But at the same time, I want to have it deep enough where I can just dip my whole spinnerbait down in there. We'll make some spinnerbaits. There's the Disco Red. I really like that color too. These reds are awesome. Okay, let me get these set up and get them ready, and we're going to bake them next. So we want to bake them to cure that paint real nice and hard on there. Okay, I've got them up there in the oven, baking away. One tip when you're hanging them in your oven, your little toaster oven there, make sure you hang them hooks down. So make a little clip, hang it off your wire, or make you some kind of jig setup. I just got little S-hook type wires I made, and all I do is just hang them in there hooks down, because you don't want the drips. It will drip a little bit. You don't want the drips to form like knots on the top of the heads or the bottom of the heads or on the chins or whatever. So what I like to do is hang them hooks down, and then that way if it runs a little bit, it just runs down on the hook. No big deal. You're going to have a trailer on there anyway and a tail. You won't even see it, and you can scratch it off. But I do mine. Most people say 350 for 30 minutes. I do mine about 325 for 30 minutes. I found out that it doesn't drip as bad, and it still bakes it on there pretty good. So yeah, let's let these bake away for 30 minutes, and let's get our blades ready. Okay, let's get our blades ready. I got these shaky blades at Barlows, obviously, and I wanted red ones, and there's no red ones. But I found this paint, and it's Fusion All-in-One Matte Fire Red. Since we're doing fire crawls, let's do some fire red blades. All right, so this paint, I've been playing around with it, and it sticks really good. So what you want to do is, and I got it kind of propped up here, I'm hoping they don't move on me. Just give it a light. And I already did one side already. And I hope that's not getting on my camera lens. I already did one side already. So just wanted to show you real quick how I get my reddish orange blades. Alright, so I'll spray them, let them dry, hit them one more time just to make sure. And do it thin, do it light, first coat, so they don't run on you. And yeah, I'll bring you back and we'll get the blades on there, finish up these lures. Okay, let's get some of these assembled. I already put some together so you can see that already. I got a bunch of these to finish up, so I'm only going to do one or two maybe. First, let's talk about eyes. This particular lure don't have eyes on it, don't have a spot for eyes. With the glue on eyes, you can just put some super glue on there and get them positioned. The banana jig I kind of put like this. Now remember, it's going to be swimming like this, so you want to put your eyes kind of towards the chatterbait blade. And then I got a lot of these little eyes from, if you're a lure maker, you get sheets of these eyes, and a lot of these small ones you never have a use for because they're usually too small for a crankbait or something. So they work out really good on these. You just have to make sure you super glue them on there. And also I top coat them with this Tester's gloss coat, top coat. I see it was like $6 at Hobby Lobby, and I'll get a ton of lures out of these. But I usually do 2 coats if I got stick-on eyes. I just like to make sure my customers don't get a lure and the first time they cast it out there, bang it on the rocks or something, an eye falls off. So yeah, I put 2 coats on there. First coat kind of seals it in, and then the second coat just goes over top of that. It dries pretty quick. I'd say probably an hour. You could coat it again. And you could also use your epoxy that you use on your baits. That works too. Any kind of coating over top of it, I think, just helps the eyes stick on there a little better, protects them. So yeah, that's one alternative to doing eyes, is use your little stick-on eyes that you already have, position them. The other couple alternatives you could have for doing eyes is, I found these Sharpies at Walmart, and they got a bunch of different colors. Now the thing about these is nice is that they are oil based, so I can paint on eyes with these, and then I don't have to worry about it washing off in the water because it's an oil base, and once it dries, it's on there pretty good. And then again, if I wanted to top coat it, I could top coat it, but with these, you usually don't have to, and they have a nice point on them. It's about the shape of an eye, or size of a good eye. You just kind of use these, they're just paint pens is all they are, and just dab them and get it loaded up on the tip and stick it on there. It just requires a steady hand and putting it in exactly the right spot. You could do a white base and then come back with the black and put a little dot in it, or any other color that you want. These came in white, red, yellow, blue, and black. So those work out really good for eyes. That's a good alternative. The other thing is, remember these model paints that you use when you were younger, maybe, and painting models and stuff. This Tester's paint is also, now there's 2 kinds. There's an acrylic and there's an oil-based enamel. So depending on what you want to do, if you want to just, if you're going to top coat them anyway, you could use the acrylics. You could use your acrylics from painting lures. Those work too. You just have to top coat them because they are acrylic and water based, and they probably won't last on there very long without a top coat. So the enamel paints are an oil base, and I'm pretty confident that they're going to stay on there for quite some time. So you can get a little pack of these of all the same, just about the same colors as the Sharpies. And as far as regular Sharpies go, I probably wouldn't use a regular Sharpie just because I've tried it before on different things. And when I use my epoxy on it, it just smears it. So these are oil-based, and they stay on there after they're dry and they don't smear. So those are just some alternatives. Whoops, sorry about that. Those are just some alternatives for eyes. The other thing you can do is take these little dowels and sharpen them in a pencil sharpener, and then you can cut your tip off to the size of the eye that you want, and you can just dip it down in your paint lid and just dab that on there. And I'm not going to paint eyes in this video. I apologize for it being a longer video, but I kind of wanted to get through all the bases of everything on building jigs. So again, I apologize if the video is a little longer than normal. Sometimes my videos might be like that because I like to touch all the points and make sure that I answer all the questions before the questions come. So yeah, you can use these little dowels. You can get them in different sizes and just make the shape and size of the eye that you want. And I put this in a pencil sharpener, sharpen it up, and trying to find one. I'm going to paint some eyes on, but I'm not going to do it on this video. Here's one right here that I just dabbed the black on with the tip of this. And then yeah, so you can do that, and then you can use the other end too if you want a fatter eye. You just touch that on there and dab it, and then come back with the smaller one and dab it and put the little inner circle in whatever color you want. So those are alternatives that you can use on painting your eyes on your jigs. These don't have a recessed spot for an eye, so that's why I considered putting the top coat on it just to seal them in there. One other thing you probably could do, and I did it on one of these, but is recess it with a bit, with your Dremel. This ain't the one I used, but I used a smaller one. But you get a ball bit like this, carbide tip, and then you can just touch that dude in there and kind of recess it a little bit, and then put your eye in there. That's another way you could do it. Takes a little more time, and the money you make on these jigs are probably not worth putting a lot of time in. But if you're doing them for yourself or whatever, and you want to spend the time on them, you know, that's one alternative. It worked out pretty good. It was a little shaky at first getting it started, but I went to a smaller one, put my spot in there, and then went bigger and just ground it out a little bit, and then my eyes can recess down on there. So yeah, that's some alternatives you can do for eyes: Sharpies, Testors paint, and just your regular stick-on eyes. Okay, so all right, let's make a skirt. I got some already painted, top coated, got the eyes on them and everything, and I'm pretty much ready to put the blades and the skirts on. So as far as skirts go, I have a skirt tool that I picked up at Barlows, and you can make one of these out of a pin cap or a pin end. Just bend you a wire with a hook on it, put it in there. But I was ordering a bunch of stuff, and I seen this, and I was like, yeah, I'll just get me one of these, and it'll just make it easier. So the skirts I'm using on these fire crawls are the Barlows Tackle silicone skirt layers barbed wire, 462 orange. And then for the red, same thing, 469 barbed wire red. All right. So on the orange jigs, what I'm doing is, see, I don't have an orange one made up. These are all the red ones. But on the red ones, I did more orange in there. I did more orange. So it's red and orange. And then it's got a few strands of red in there. So that's how I'm doing my red ones. And then on the orange ones, I'm doing 2 red tabs and a half a tab of orange. Okay, so let's make one up real quick. So you get your 3 tabs where you want them, slip this little hook through there, Actually, you can do it one at a time if you want to make it perfect. But push this down, get this little hook in here, kind of center it up a little bit. Okay, so I got my tabs on here. Now I'm just going to roll this up a little bit, get this pushing up in there, get it started. Sorry, I'm trying to get it so you can see too. It's always harder when you're doing it on camera. Once you get it started, you can pull that whole thing up in there, like so. Alright, and then just roll your ring off of there. Slide it down on there. Now, depending on where you want your jig, and you can always roll this more once you got it on there. Just roll it, hold it, and just roll it. And then I'll tell you how I do mine, or a couple different ways to do these. Okay. Now, then push that down, take it off of there. Alright, now before we put the skirt on, let me show you. Here's one. So this one's just has a little bit of a small umbrella on it. So that's with it about 3/4 of the way. And I always leave the extra on there. Let my customer trim it up however they want. Some people like them long, some people like them shorter, some people like them up to the hook. I leave that for the customer to decide. Yeah, and then that way they can shape it however they want, because you can't add skirt, but you can always take a little bit off. Okay, so that one's about 3/4 of the way up. Here's one that's a little more than halfway, so you get a little bit more of an umbrella on it, and it kind of skirts out. It's not as long, but there again, customer can trim it up however they want. Now here's one that I did with a half a skirt. You can cut them in half, a little bit more challenging to get up in this tool. So if you do cut them in half, I'd say cut them after you have the rings on there that you want. Put 2 rings on and then cut them to the size that you want. This gives it more of a little flared look at the top. Okay, so I gotta go back and put the eyes on these. I haven't done all these, but that's just another way you can do it, and you can get twice the skirts out of it. So yeah, that's just a couple different ways you can do it. All right, so we're gonna make this one about halfway. Roll it down some more until it's about in the middle. Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and slip this on here in the middle. Slide it all the way up. Roll it up on there. Get it kind of spaced where you want it. Get your red kind of spaced out. And then I'm going to bring it over here to my jig tool. Turn it for you. Alright, then I'm going to put it in my jig tool. My jig vise lock it in. And then I'm going to take and pull, stretch this out just a little bit. And you can do all of them at the same time too if you want. If you want to get them all the same size, or you can cut them one at a time and get half. Get the sizes a little different. If you want to cut the orange one shorter, or the outside one's a little shorter. All right, now I'm turn it around. I just put it in the vise because it keeps it tight while I stretch it. You want to stretch them out because when you cut them and let them go, then they flare all out for you. Stretch them out. Slice them all. There you go. And you might have a couple that stick together if you kind of play with them and flick them around a little bit. They usually pop loose. Alright, so that's how I get my skirt on there. Let's go back over here and we're going to put our blade on. Okay, here's the blades I painted earlier. I bent that back. Remember, I bent that back a little bit before I painted it. Slip your blade on there. Take your needle nose, and if you come underneath of it and come right kind of behind that little bend, you can curl that down in there and kind of get it tight so your blade don't come out of there. There we go. Last component you're going to need is the little dual lock. I got one on this one. I didn't put them on all of them yet. I usually do that last. But you need this little dual lock. Alright. Put the big, long, wide part down in through the top there. And then go up through the second hole closest to the bait. Clip it, and it's done. So there's our fire craw. Orange and red. Orange head, red skirt. Red head, orange skirt. Two different options there. Alright, well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of these, and I'll post some pics in the end, close-ups of them so you can see them. But I appreciate all the subscribers, appreciate all of you guys commenting, sharing, giving the likes. All that helps the channel grow. I've got a bunch of stuff I keep coming up with, and it's just a matter of getting it on video. So hope you guys stick around, watch the videos all the way through, because I always throw a bunch of little tips in there, and it just helps the channel if you watch the video all the way through. But again, I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you get notified when we put up the next videos. And always remember, stay crusty, my friends.